is Mike Ragsdale. My friends are Keith and him, and Rick is with Holland Bloorview, and we're excited to share how we were able to navigate two very complex given seasons in a row with some success. I've been at Holland Bloorview since April 2020, so it started at a very interesting time. I was our first pandemic hire, and it took me about 9 months to actually spend it in the hospital for social distancing rules.
Thanks, Mike, and pretty good job for the pandemic card. I'm Greg Wade. I've been with the hospital for going on 13 years now. Before that, I was with UNICEF Canada. Anybody from UNICEF here? UNICEF? Oh, yeah, you got them. Hey, guys. United Children. And a few other places before that. We won't get into it. It's a long section. Yeah, so we just want to talk a bit about Holland Bloorview very quickly, because a lot of people don't know who we are. Has anybody here heard of us? Holland Bloorview? Oh, that's quite big. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty uncommon, but I guess that shows you the demographic is in this room at the moment. You might have already heard us speak at some of these before, or you're just familiar with the work that we do. Sometimes those who know us love us, but we've had some problems over the years. So you can see the main issue is that we keep changing where our building is. So you can see a few options there. Also, we keep changing our name, and the original names were done by people who really didn't know much about branding. So you can see top left there is the Home for Incurable Children. Eventually we turned into the Ontario Crippled Children's Centre. And now we are Holland Bloorview, which is a lot better, but still, we're nowhere near Bloor Street, so you can't view Bloor Street from where we are. And some donors have refused to give to us because they only want to give to Canadian charities, not to Holland. So, oh well, but sometimes you got to dance with one in also a bit about the foundation itself. So we've been there along the way with the hospital, supporting them during their more than 125 years of existence. And we have a few programs on the go. When I first started there, I remember there was an issue. I just come from UNICEF, and we had tens of thousands of monthly donors, and then I came here and they introduced me in my first way to our monthly donor file, how we manage it, and I was just like, that's crazy, you can't manage a monthly file that way. And they said, well, you kind of can, because we only have 30 of them. So, okay, well, does that make sense? So things have gotten a lot better since, but most of the money used to come from grants and from large leadership gifts. Now we're kind of growing that in a better way. We're also going into the last 2 years of our Together We Dare campaign, where we're trying to raise $100 million. And actually doing a pretty good job at it. It's going very well. Feel free to come to hollandbloorview.ca after you've given the images here. You might have seen our Capes for Kids branding. So we have a peer-to-peer program that runs every year. Every year during March Capes Week, you'll see some people walking on capes. That means they fundraised $100 for us. So that's pretty awesome. I'll turn it back to Mike to talk about the key issue.
Yes, like many all organizations, the months of November are our most important fundraising years, especially for annual giving. I did see that was one of the questions on the quiz, so spoiler alert there. We are definitely in the higher range of that. And if you have mentioned already today that the CRA continues to show that giving's going down, which means it's making it harder and harder for us to fundraise, especially from annual giving donors, as donations continue to get consolidated more and more with the wealthy, which isn't great. So we really want to continue reaching out to our wider audience of donors, even though it is getting a little bit trickier to do that. That was especially true in Canada in the past 2 years, when we experienced not one but two postage stoppages, including the one in 2024, which was at the worst possible time of year for pretty much any industry that did mail to Canada, as it happened in November, December, which was especially in charities. That actually made us have to cancel our December mailing, which acts as our chaser. And last year's strike occurred 1 month after we launched our Together We Dare public campaign, so also not great timing. A little bit better than 2024, but still not great. So it was quite a stressful time, but thankfully, thanks to some pivots, some pre-planned diverse touch points, and impactful messaging that centered the voices of our clients, which we refer to our donations as, we did okay. We actually exceeded our previous year's giving during those months each year, which was primarily driven by our digital fundraising. So in terms of what we did in the last 2 years, in November, December, thankfully ahead of our Together We Dare campaign in 2024, we had already pre-invested in some new testing and new channels new ad buys that are primarily led by our colleague Catherine, who's also here today. So we didn't need to start from scratch. We just had to kind of pivot our budget from kind of direct mail to some other campaigns out there, which really helped us kind of pivot and adapt our messaging in a way that actually supported us. And we actually made sure our giving season campaigns were truly omni-channel. So no matter where someone was seeing us out in the wild, whether it was on a bus ad, on a digital screen in an office in downtown Toronto, in an email, in a text, or even a phone call they got, they knew that they were speaking to someone or interacting with our organization, so it really helped kind of build up our branding. So in terms of what we were doing out there out in the wild, so direct mail, we continue to send mailings. In October, we typically send out a cultivation newsletter, which is thanking our supporters, kind of as a primer before we're kind of asking them throughout the months of November, December. We send a larger mailing out in November to our wider audience of donors. It actually also acts as an acquisition piece where we send it to our discharge clients or patients out of the hospital. We typically send a December follow-up that we again had to cancel in 2024, but we did manage to get out last year. Telemarketing, we don't typically do telemarketing around that time of year. We typically do it in the spring. We typically do it to convert new monthly donors, but when the postage had stopped, we actually did call our donors who specifically usually give via direct mail, calling them, thanking them for their past support, and really asking them if they would support us over the phone since they are unable to send in their check at the moment. We had a lot of success there. We had a couple significant donations. One woman in particular gave us $10,000 on the spot, and she normally gives a couple $100s, which was extremely generous and kind of unexpected from her. Like I mentioned, our out-of-home ads, we continue to kind of test those out ahead of our larger campaign. It allowed us to see what worked, so we were able to further invest in these ads that we saw bring us results last year when we did launch our Together a Year campaign. We sent text messages on specific given days, such as Giving Tuesday and the last day of the year. But really what drove our success was digital fundraising. So when we look at our digital fundraising, we first start with our donation forms, which are hosted on engaging networks. Being a hospital for kids and youth with disabilities, accessibility is really important to us. So first we make sure our forms are fully accessible for screen readers, adapted devices, just to make sure that everyone and anyone can donate to our organization. We make sure they're mobile friendly, and we really just want to make it as easy as possible for absolutely everyone to give us a donation. And we also make use of as many features as possible that we can. So we use the credit card fee coverage, next suggested gift array. We worked with the Zara group to embed e-cards directly in the donation form, so if someone makes a tribute gift, they don't have to navigate away from it. They can select a tribute card that they're going to send out and make the donation right after, so there's no interruption there. We implemented PayPal as well. And all these are used. So looking at Giving Tuesday last year, 62% of our donors on Giving Tuesday covered the credit card fee. 16% ended up sending an e-card, 12% gave by PayPal, and we saw 36% actually give on mobile on Giving Tuesday, which is great to see. We send all of our emails out of engaging networks using the broadcast tool. They're all segmented, conditional, so they are personalized. And so when we switched to engaging networks way back in 2020, it just made our list hygiene so much easier to do around that time of year. It meant we're not needing to import donors out of our database to ensure that they're being suppressed. Having it all in one system just makes it really easy to make sure that we're not asking someone for a donation the day after they donated. Because no one wants to see that, so we want to make sure that they do get entered into our welcomes or our cultivation series, just to make sure that we're not asking them too much. We really make use of all of the tests in engaging networks and on our emails, whether it's switching up the gift matrix array from high to low or low to high. We test out subject lines, senders, the actual designs of our emails. In addition to this, we make use of extensive digital ads across channels, whether it's Meta, LinkedIn. Interesting, we see a lot of uptick in monthly conversions from Pinterest, which was unexpected, that we're continuing to look into. And using UTMs and tracking just makes it easy to see what's performing well and what's not, so we can spend our money wisely to ensure that we're spending it with the highest ROI. And again, referring to Giving Tuesday 2025, we saw that 55% of the gifts on that day came from email. So again, email was the primary driver of our donations on the biggest day of the year for us. But 26% came directly from social ads, 8% came from text messages, and the remaining 11% came from out-of-home ads or direct access to our donation form, which was also great to see. So while again, over 50% came from email, the rest was pretty diverse, which was just shows how important it is to have as many ways to reach your audience as possible. This is just an example of a test we ran last year. Typically our ads have powerful images of our clients or staff or families. This was a test that featured no image. It performed quite well actually. So we continued to roll that out. This is just an example of a text message that we sent on Giving Tuesday. We send them all from our CEO, Sandra Hawken. So not only do these drive donations, they act as a cultivation touch point. I've had many live chats with donors who think I'm our CEO, telling me about their day. I've had one woman call me actually, call the number because she found one of our donors' phone in the security line of the Newark airport. Couldn't help her, but it really does act as a strong cultivation tool. It allows you to have these live conversation with donors, and they're always shocked when they see that it's a real human that they're chatting to. This was just a test of an email that we sent. It was replicated a forward near the end of the day on December 31st, just to try to resend an email that we sent earlier in the day, just to get at the top of their inbox that performed well. And then this is just an example of our donation form. It's typically larger. There is an image and quotes on it, but this is just a zeroed in screenshot of what it actually looks like, which has us highlighted the monthly gift option, the variable gift matrix, the question mark asking if they want to cover the fee, and also that ability to implement an e-card, which again, all of these features are used by our supporters in various ways.
Thanks, Mike. So did any of this work is the question. That's where I jumped in. So just to draw your attention to the far right column here, first of all, I just want to mention I'm using fiscal year. The only reason for that is because ours runs April to March, so Happy New Year. And so it's just a better way to look at things. For the moment, so on the far right column, you can see that there's been a steady drop in mail as a percentage of overall direct marketing returns. That's not surprising given how the industry is going, but then you'll notice it drops down to 14% in 2025, so that's those missing years in 2024. Just to be where we didn't get a mailing out. And then it has a slight rebound, but not much, the following year. So that indicates that what likely happened there was the direct mailing didn't get out to some people, and they switched channels and they didn't come back, which is fine because they still donated. The other thing in that middle column is DMers as a percentage of total revenue. So you notice there's a bit of a steady drop there. So down in 2025, 2026, it seems to drop off kind of precipitously as well. It actually doesn't matter that much. So for a couple things, in 2025, we didn't get mailing out. We think there's leakage for people who did give through direct mail in response to some of our direct mail initiatives that would have picked another channel. And the other thing is percentage of revenue. So our revenue went up because our Together We Dare campaign was actually doing pretty well and we started getting some gifts coming in. So we don't really care about how big the slice of the pie is, we care about the size of the entire pie in the end, so not a major issue. And just to illustrate that, you can see there's a happy curve for you, it's going up. So it's not a smiley face, but it's still a pretty good line, so we're kind of happy with that. So we had a big spike in revenue, mostly due to increases from our expanded monthly files, so good job, Emma, well done. And more online giving, so digital has been performing very well. And then, of course, not as much with the mailing file. Looking at this chart here, it's kind of in reverse order there, but and going by actual year this time. We can see that in the past 5 years, our November and December giving for direct mail revenue has gone down, which again, that's in keeping with trends. And then the exception is that 2024 year, again, we missed the mailing, so that's a huge drop because nobody had mailing to respond to, but it rebounded when we mailed in 2025 and actually went up net by 13%. So that 54% number is quite nice. We know that that file is still there. We're still going to have some mailing donors and still going to be around for a long time. And yeah, there's still some opportunity there, but we're not relying on that. We're sticking with digital. Digital has continuously driven up our total direct marketing appeals during the month of November, December, and with the exception of 2022, we have gone up year over year. So in 2024, which was the year an entire mailing was canceled and mail was delayed, we made up for it with digital. So digital is here to stay, of course. Not too much surprise there. The other thing we noticed was that Giving Tuesday in particular tends to set records year over year. And one last thing, just to keep heaping on the praise for Mike, is that our renewal rates are going up year over year, which is another great sign. So people are finding a way to get to us again and again. We can attribute that just to improvements in our stewardship efforts and finding other channels through the omni-channel to get out to people. Charles Darwin is on the slide. You might be wondering why. I had a whole subplot thing that we cut for time about evolution. So yeah, anyway, but we didn't lose that graphic. But we have evolved somewhat and we're continuing to evolve. So right now, donors are no longer as attributable to one tactic. So back in the day, you get a letter back in the mail that had this little code on it, you punch it in and say, that's what they gave to. Well, now it's omni-channel, multi-channel. We're assuming that there's a number of reasons why people are motivated to give. And we're also assuming that we have a number of touch points which are not specific asks. So we also want to take a look at those. We're attributing to different channel tactics as opposed to a single gift. And we're going to need some more sophisticated technology. So I'm working on that. Maybe in a year or two, you'll have me back to talk about how we're doing analysis on some of our programs in a more sophisticated way.
Even though it's only April, at Holland Bloorview, we're already starting to think about year-end giving season. We're going to probably be doing a kickoff for that pretty soon. So if based on these past 2 years and even years before that with just the chaos that continues to happen around the world, we know that there's going to be some curveballs thrown at us. So kind of our 3 main takeaways as we're kind of starting to look ahead to not only November, December, but also starting as early as September, which is kind of when we launch phase 2 of our Together We Dare campaign. We're going to want to sustain our touch points of our donors, whether as cultivation, stewardship, or solicitation, basically over the course of 4 months. So kind of our 3 key takeaways as we are looking ahead to that is really proactively planning for the unexpected. Hopefully there isn't another posted stoppage, but it's going to be something else. We know that. So just planning out as far in advance, doing risk analysis, being prepared to pivot and just be creative in your messaging when you do, and not be kind of married to one idea or one concept that we're might be thinking about now for Giving Tuesday. We might have to switch gears a couple weeks before, so we're kind of prepared to do that. We're continuing to lean into omni or multi-channel, just ensuring that our supporters are getting communicated to from us in as many ways as we can, and in as many ways that they either give us permission to or want us to. We know that sometimes a supporter is going to see an ad from us, not give right away, but then they might get an email from us, and then they might go back and click through the next ad that they're going to get. They might get a direct mail from us, and then they might get a text message from us a month ago. And while they might be given because of the story that they read in the direct mail, the actual channel that they're going to give through might be a text message. So we're just going to continue to reach out to them in as many ways as possible, with a common theme, common branding, common messaging, just to ensure that they're going to give us a donation or interact with us in a way that makes sense to them. I know that makes your job harder, but we still want to meet the donors where they are when they are able to give. And we want to make it as easy as possible for our donors to give, whether it's responding with a reply coupon, whether it's responding to a text message, whether it's clicking an email, or calling our office to make a donation. Something we really take a lot of pride in is our kind of high-touch, personalized outreach to our donors. That's led by our colleague Linda, who's also here today. So we really try to personally contact as many donors as we can, and give them the option to call into our office and speak to a live human, who again is Linda, whether it's the fact that they need the tax receipt or if they just want to make a donation directly over the phone. We make sure that we're able to do that for them. And yeah, that's everything from us.
Thank you.
I'll just think do you have any specific examples of how you leveraged Pinterest to drive visitors to your website to donate?
Honestly, we just worked with our ad agency partner and we just kind of did ads, the same kind of ads we did on Meta. We didn't have them any specific messaging on them, but for some reason on that particular platform, the amount of monthly donations was much higher than Meta. Proportionally for our spend, we spent more on Meta, so we did get more actual monthly donors, but in terms of the ROI, the cost per basically monthly donor is higher on Pinterest, which wasn't expected to us.
Beautiful surprise. Just given the challenges with hard copy mailings, postal strikes, like you said, on response rates, how much time, energy, and resources will you put toward it this year?
So we don't want to reduce any of our mailings, but at the same time, we're finding our acquisition in particular through direct mail is dropping quite significantly. So while we're not reducing the actual mailings that we're going to be sending to our donors or lapsed donors, we are cutting back in our acquisition component of it because we've seen that like renting lists hasn't been working for a few years. We do send it to our discharged clients, patients, or even at that, we're looking at some ways to do that. Just based on the returns that we're getting from direct mail acquisition, it just seems to not be working for us as much. We are leaning towards some more lead gen in terms of digital. Like we worked with principals last year on a cookbook magnet, so we're going to be repurposing that again this year and just trying to use more digital lead gen to hopefully convert them to donors. So since we're finding acquisition mail, it's just hasn't quite been performing and it's been dropping for a few years now.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing the lead gen ideas that come out of you all. It sounds like that's going to be a neat thing to focus on. Any final questions? That's all that's in the app right now. Last call for questions here, or if anyone wants to bring a question to Michael, Greg. Oh, sure.
So that's something we got from a couple years ago. We saw that the Children's Aid Foundation was doing it, so we worked with the same agency that they worked with principals last year. So we did it with kind of recipes that our patients, patient families kind of inspired us by. So we did that last summer as like a modest test, and it performed quite well. So we're going to be just relaunching it this year with a couple like additional recipes, but with the kind of core bit the same, and a couple other lead gen ideas like we're thinking of. In May for Leave a Legacy Month, we'll be doing kind of like a will health check lead gen where people can just get a quick kind of one pager on just kind of what you need to do when you're reevaluating your will. So that's hopefully going to bring us in some potential plan giving prospects. So just trying to do a variety of lead gen.
I love that. Great. That's all for the questions. Last call. Otherwise, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
The next one.